Hello and welcome. You're watching To The Point. What are the real reasons why Leela Sampson resigned as chairperson of the censor board? And how does she respond to the charges levelled against her by information casting Minister Arun Jaitley? Those are the key issues I shall put in part 2 in an exclusive interview to Leela Sampson herself. But first, a resolution critical of India's handling of the Italian Marines has been passed by the European Parliament, and it raises the key question: has India mishandled this case? Almost 3 years have passed since the Marines were first arrested and detained, but not only has the case against them made no headway, but as things stand, they no longer face charges framed by a court of law. They are detained on the basis of an FIR. So tonight we ask, has the time come for India to seek a different solution to this problem? And could that include sending them back to Italy to face trial under the Italian legal system? That's the first discussion tonight. And now joining me to discuss the Italian Marines situation is the man who was their first lawyer, Harish Salve, former ambassador to Italy, Kuldeep Sehdev, and the diplomatic editor of The Hindu, Suhashini Haidar. But first, I have with me former Foreign Minister, Salman Khurshid. Mr. Khurshid, I want to ask you questions about your government's handling of the Italian Marines. Given that the incident clearly happened outside Indian territorial waters, and given, secondly, that from the very outset, the Italians did not accept the jurisdiction of the Indian courts, should you not have taken this matter either to an international tribunal or perhaps to arbitration, rather than force the Italians to accept a verdict under Indian law?
Karan, let me just first say that this is unfortunate. I deeply regret that during my tenure we couldn't find a solution to this, although I spent a lot of time personally to try and see if we can find a solution. The matter wasn't just entirely in the government's hands, because it started off under the legal system in Kerala. It got transferred to Delhi under a Supreme Court order. The Italian Marines did submit themselves to the Supreme Court on several occasions, including when they took the equivalent of a furlough to go back to their own country for Christmas. We were bound really by those orders, and we couldn't have done anything beyond those orders, unless, of course, we could take a decision, which even the government today can take.
Can I interrupt?
In the interest of relations with Italy.
Can I interrupt?
We decide that we will not prosecute them, but that's a very major decision.
You know, my question was this: given that the incident happened outside Indian territorial waters, and secondly, given that in fact the Italians from the outset disputed the jurisdiction of the Indian courts, why did you not take this matter either for arbitration or to an international tribunal?
Well, you know, Karan, criminal matters are not taken to arbitration. I know that you're looking at the international relations element in it. The problem was, it may well be that they are right, but there isn't a court pronouncement yet in India which says that there is no jurisdiction, and the Supreme Court had left it open to the trial court first to decide the jurisdictional issue. And unfortunately, I don't know if they were rightly or wrongly advised, but the Italian Marines felt that they were not going to submit themselves to the jurisdiction of trial court. And that's why matters have just got delayed and delayed and delayed, which is unfortunate. I still think that bipartisan support in both the government of the day as well as the previous government representatives should find some way in order to get over this problem.
Can I put this to you? Would you accept that because this incident happened in February 2012, when there was a critical by-election underway in Kerala, Kerala domestic politics, first of all, bedeviled the matter, and then secondly, a concern on your government's part that Sonia Gandhi's name would be dragged in and connections made to her Italian origin, and as a result of both those factors, you ended up taking a hardline and rigid position, which has in a real sense backfired on you. No,
nothing's backfired. I've just said that this is unfortunate. I don't think that there is an issue of backfired. Otherwise, I'm sure that the BJP government of the day would have reversed this. Even for them, it's not easy to reverse. And I would say this. I would say this with all due respect to their intent to solve it, as I'm sure that they must have. I think the big problem here was when the matter was transferred to Delhi jurisdiction, which again can be questioned by the Italian Marines. Instead of being given to the CBI, it went to the NIA, and that's what caused much greater complication. And I took it upon myself to give a commitment that there would not be death sentence in this matter. I said it to Parliament, I said it also to my international interlocutors, but it just became a very complicated thing, which perhaps people involved had not looked far enough.
Absolutely. But
when
you know,
they were taking the
that decision to give it to the NIA rather than the CBI was taken by the Home Secretary under your government, and it could have been reversed by your government, but it wasn't.
Well, by the Home Secretary, who now happens to be an MP in the BJP.
But at the time he wasn't.
I don't think that we should.
At the time he came under your Home Minister, and you could have reversed it.
No, of course he did. But you show it. This also shows that we didn't impose our will on the bureaucracy of the day, and that we allowed them to function in what they thought.
Yes, but they took a patently wrong decision, and as politicians, you should have stepped in to correct it, and you didn't. Has gone wrong. They took a patently wrong decision, which you're now admitting was a wrong decision.
It's very easy to say you didn't correct it either. The first time that you are mentioning all this, you could have corrected and said that the government should just let them go scot-free. Nobody did. Nobody did. The point is that politics and law are not always completely separate. They do get intertwined, and it is for you and me to ensure that we keep our objective head and our objective cap and ensure that law does not get overwhelmed by politics. Now, we are saying, and I'm saying now, that this is too important in a relationship for us to let it go into some kind of a crisis because of a matter like this. We should find a solution, sit down and find a solution.
And would that solution that you're now saying we need to sit down and find possibly include dropping the case in India, sending the Marines back to Italy to be tried by the Italian system where, as you know, they already face a case? Would that be an ideal solution in this particular problem?
Well, absolutely, it could be, but must keep in mind that whatever decision is taken will have to be a decision of an independent application of mine by a public prosecutor, and that decision will have to be accepted both by the trial court and perhaps by the Supreme Court, because these matters have gone to the Supreme Court on several occasions. The law on that is very clear. There has to be an independent application of mind. It cannot be a dictation by government.
Salman Khurshid, the important thing is you began that answer by saying that could be, in fact, the solution. Drop the case in India, send the Marines back to Italy to face the case that is already there in the Italian courts. Thank you very much for joining us and giving us that very important point that that could be a possible solution. We're going to, at this particular moment now, bring in my other guest. And my first guest is, in fact, Harish Salve. Harish Salve, you are, in fact, the lawyer who was fighting the case for the Italian Marines right up till February 2013. Let me ask you, in your eyes, did the UPA government mishandle this case?
Oh, completely. I have no doubt in my mind that they were unable to deal with the political pressure from the Kerala government. I make no bones about saying that, Karan. This has been putting politics over the interests of the country. I put it that strongly.
So you're actually saying that that by-election in Kerala that was taking place when this incident happened meant that domestic politics trumped national interest, and it was domestic politics that determined how the government of the day acted in Delhi?
Absolutely. Can you imagine if somebody was to tell us that, if Pakistan were to tell us that they would try Indian soldiers for incidents that happen on the border? Can you imagine tomorrow if an Indian ship with Indian sailors on board is passing by, and an incident like this takes place in some other country? Will we give our sailors or our people on board to the other country for trial? What sort of precedents do we want to set?
So in fact what you're saying is that there was a large element of double standards. The Indian government was treating the Italian Marines in a way that they would not accept if their own soldiers were treated by another country in that manner.
Absolutely. Secondly, you know how that ship ended up in India. that ship had sailed far away after reporting to London, which is the head of the anti-piracy headquarters. They were told, we have arrested a vessel which looks something like the piracy vessel you described. Can you come back to identify, to cooperate in the inquiry? That ship turned around and came back, and on arrival those people were arrested. This sort of conduct hardly behoves a nation which today is saying we are going to be, sooner than later, one of the world's great powers.
So you're actually suggesting that that ship was lured back, the Enrica Lexi was lured back into Indian waters virtually on false pretenses?
It was. That's a matter of record. It's on the record. The messages which were sent.
Now, when I interviewed you in March 2013, you said that if this issue was raised, the issue of jurisdiction was raised in the special trial court set up by the Supreme Court, you were absolutely confident the court would conclude that India had no jurisdiction in the matter and the matter should be tried in Italy. Are you still of that view today?
Of course, Karan, it's according to me an argument which is of no great legal sophistry. The vessel was admittedly in the contiguous zone, it was not in the Indian territorial waters. And the Italian government has told the government of India and the court over and over and over again that these were people who were deployed under Italian law. Now, if under Italian law a soldier or a marine has been deployed, if he has acted contrary to Italian law, he has to be tried by the Italian authorities. That's Committee of Nations. It's as simple as that.
Now, over the last 7 months, we've had a new government in India. The NDA has been responsible for the handling of this matter. As far as I know, they've taken no initiative, they've taken no significant step. Are they also guilty of mishandling this situation, or at least not doing the most they could to improve things?
Well, the problem is now become larger, and I think time has come, Karan, when we have to remind ourselves that the executive government has an overriding power to withdraw prosecutions when it's in larger public interest. And the government, unfortunately, the courts nowadays in their supervisory enthusiasm sort of make everybody believe that the governments have no say in criminal prosecutions. That is not true. If the government of India is satisfied that this is not a case worthy of prosecution for various reasons, including now but not limited to the health of one of the Marines, I think it's about time they called it quits. 2 years these boys have been here. Your National Investigation Agency has not been able to file a charge sheet, for God's sake. Isn't that good enough reason to call it quits?
And if the government were to decide to call it quits, what are the steps they need to take? And would the Supreme Court be an obstacle, or would the Supreme Court accept?
I don't think they need to approach the Supreme Court. The Code of Criminal Procedure only requires the government. They will notify a court. They will go to the court under the Code of Criminal Procedure and say we are withdrawing prosecution. End of the matter.
Kuldeep Sadev, you've just heard two very important people closely connected to this matter. Salman Khurshid, who was foreign minister when the UPA was in power. Harish Salve, who was the first lawyer on behalf of the Italians, suggesting that the time has come to consider dropping the case in India, letting the Marines go back and be tried in Italy where there is a case, and to be tried under Italian law. As a former ambassador to Italy, do you think this is the bullet this government now needs to bite?
I think so, Karan. The fact is that this case has dragged on for 3 years and we have made very little progress. And I believe that it's not only affecting our relations with Italy, but as the recent resolution by the EU Parliament shows, it's going to start affecting our relations with the whole of Europe. I think the government needs to be more proactive in looking for solutions. Withdrawing the case could be one solution, reaching a compromise could be another, but something has to be done, and quickly.
So, Hashni Haider, when Indian fishermen were convicted and sentenced in Sri Lanka of drug smuggling, India sought a political resolution, and former President Rajapaksa in fact pardoned the fishermen and sent them back to India. Do you think that could be a precedent for the way the NDA government now handles the Italian Marines? And even if the NDA doesn't want to pardon them, they can at least send them back to Italy to face the case there.
Well, Certainly,
Yes.
Karan, there are precedents of all kinds, but this should show us, and especially when that issue becomes so heated in India, that if India expects these kind of courtesies, if you like, this kind of flexibility from another sovereign government, then surely it should be expected to hold the same kind of flexibility over a bilateral relationship with Italy as well. The problem, if you ask me, Karan, and here is where Mr. Khurshid is as responsible as the present-day government, has been not just the double-speak of the government, it has been the confused approach towards the case. Are we trying the Italian Marines as common criminals in India? In which case, why did the UPA government give the Italians a guarantee that they would not be facing the death penalty? Obviously, a special case was made for them. If today the NDA government, the BJP government has allowed one of the Marines to go back to Italy for heart treatment, are you treating them exactly as you would treat a criminal inside India, someone charged? I'm sorry, I should say someone not even charged, cheated, but accused of a criminal act in India. Would you say that the Gangaram Hospital, for example, in Delhi is not good enough to take care of him? So at each level, and it's with shock that one has to realize that for at least 3 years, the Indian government has worked in an extremely double-handed manner. And as a result, when you want to resolve the situation, you are going to have to find some completely a third solution, honestly, and I do think, I agree with you, that a political solution is the only one.
Now, Kuldeep Saidev, as you mentioned a moment ago, the European Parliament has passed a resolution. It is a critical resolution as far as the Indian government's handling of this particular problem is concerned. How much time does the government in Delhi have to find an effective solution before, in fact, relations start to markedly deteriorate? I mean, is there a sense in which time's running out because frustration in not just Rome but Brussels is growing?
Yes, well, the point is the sooner they settle it, the better it is for all concerned. Now, there is no deadline as such, but time is not with us on this matter. And it's just the promise of better economic relations under the new government that European governments are keeping quiet on this issue by and large. But we shouldn't push our luck too much. We must find a solution as soon as possible.
How much damage has already happened to relations between New Delhi and Rome?
Between Italy and India, a lot of damage has taken place. Between the rest of Europe and India, not much so far. But situation can change.
And that damage that has already happened between Italy and India, can it be rectified speedily and easily if India were to take a decision to send the Marines back and to face trial in Italy? Or is that a long process of restoring that relationship because of the depth of damage done?
I think relations can be restored quite quickly if the new government can show that it has taken the initiative as soon after they came into office, and they have resolved the matter. So I think it is easy to settle the case and to repair the damage to relations. But if we take too long about it, then I don't know, all bets are off.
Now, Sahashini Haidar, you heard earlier Salman Khurshid, the former UPA foreign minister, saying that the option of terminating the case in India and sending the Marines back to face trial in Italy where they face the case could be one of the solutions. That's the first time anyone from the last government has accepted that this could be a solution. But do you think Salman Khurshid is simply speaking for himself, or is he reflecting the opinion of his party? And secondly, if Mr. Jaitley and Mr. Modi were to decide that we need to sort this out and let's end the case and send the Marines back to face justice there, would Congress support that, or would it contest it and make it a political issue?
Well, the truth is, Karan, that all kinds of things could be the solution, and Mr. Khurshid is speaking a few years too late. If he thinks that this was a real solution, he should have said so at the time as External Affairs Minister. The fact is, the reason he didn't and the reason the government today is in a bind is because they have taken such strong political positions. Prime Minister Modi himself in March, if you remember, addressed a public rally where he insinuated that a certain leniency was being shown towards the Marines because they were Italian. And attacking the Congress party over that. 6 months later, of course, the government has had to show a certain amount of flexibility because this is a big international situation. It is a situation where the EU has got involved and is threatening that it is going to affect relations between India and the European Union, not just India and Italy. So what you're saying is right, Karan, that the political positions, the hardened political positions they took are now standing in front of this government as they did before the last one when it comes to finding a flexible solution for the Marines between the two countries. I don't know what the final solution is going to be, Karan, but I certainly hope that there will be a certain amount of consistency shown by the government. After all, there are all kinds of situations here which are ironic, if you like, that the BJP that had so opposed the Marines being sent back to Italy has actually facilitated one of them going back. The fact that the Attorney General today, in fact, has represented the Marines in the past as well. So I do see the possibility of more flexibility being shown by the government, but they will have to face the political flak.
Kuldeep Sahdev, my last question to you. There is speculation, and I underline it's only speculation, that in fact the two governments behind doors in secret are trying to find a solution. Do you think that there could be some way that they can find fairly quickly to sort it out, or is it going to be a very difficult process for them?
I hope that what you are saying are rumors are true. They certainly can find a solution. There might be some political flack, but frankly not too much. And I agree with Mr. Salve that the Supreme Court will fall in line once if the government decides and takes a firm stand that they are withdrawing the case.
All right.